Hello everyone, how are you? I'm Nishikawa, the presenter of this program. The Unit 2 video explained Step 1 to 4 of the PCM method. This Unit 3 explains each of Step 5, Project Design Matrix PDM making, Step 6, Action Plan making, Step 7, Monitoring, and Step 8, Evaluation. Before explaining Step 5, I would like to clarify the difference between a project and a program in the PCM method. Because a project plan and a program plan are different in their making process. Let us have a look at the objective analysis tree of Akihabara Village. By project selection, the project candidate number 2, Water Supply Improvement Project, was selected. Once this project is implemented, the objective stated at the top of the project plan, time taken to draw water will be shortened, will be achieved. However, you can understand that the core objective cannot be achieved unless all projects are implemented. To show all project candidates which are considered feasible to achieve the core objective together as a total package, such approach is called a program. In other words, a group of projects is a program. However, a program plan doesn't cover the detailed contents of each project. I suppose some of you make project plans and others make program plans. Those who make project plans, please proceed to Step 5, PDM making, to plan detailed contents for a specific project. Or, those who make program plans, please skip Step 5, PDM making, and proceed directly to Step 6, Action Plan making. Now, let us proceed to Step 5, Project Design Matrix PDM making. A project design matrix is a table consisting of 16 cells, where the contents of the project plan are summarized. In the header of matrix, relevant information is indicated, such as the project name, duration, target area, target group, and creation date. There are 4 rows headlines, which are left to right. 1. Narrative summary. 2. Measurement for progress. 3. Data sources. And 4. Assumptions. There are also 4 columns which are, from top to bottom, overall goal, project purpose, outputs, and activities. Now, let us fill in the cells of the PDM for the water supply improvement project in Akihabara Village. First, we are going to start with the far left row, the narrative summary. The narrative summary should correspond to the objective analysis tree. In the case of this project in Akihabara Village, the overall goal should have the core objective: women are less busy with housekeeping. The project purpose should have time taken to draw water will be shortened, which is on the top of the project plan. The output should include things such as the wells work well, the number of working wells increases, and the number of wells in the village is sufficient, and are just below the top in the project plan. The section under these outputs is for activities. The contents of these activities cells will be the base for the next step, an action plan. So, please describe in as much detail as possible, making full use of your knowledge. The cells in the second row, the measurement for progress, should have indicators to judge conditions of progress for outputs, project purpose, and overall goal. For example, the cells under the measurement for progress for the overall goal should have a measurement to indicate progress for the objective. Women are less busy with housekeeping. Such indicators are also written for the project purpose and the outputs. The cells in the third row are for data sources, which should have the origin of information for measurement for progress, such as a sampling survey report, a villager's interview survey report, a report on the results of actual counting on the site, and so on. The fourth row, assumptions, should have external conditions required respectively to lead from the activities to the outputs, to lead from the outputs to the project purpose, and to lead from the project purpose to realization of the overall goal. The cell in the bottom of the assumptions rows is for preconditions. Here, conditions required to start the activities of the project are described. The cell in the middle of the bottom column is for inputs. This cell should have injection plans of resources which are necessary to implement activities, such as human resources, facilities, equipment, and recurrent costs. It is necessary to write resources injected separately for those who provide and receive donation. Now, the PDM is completed. After completing the PDM comes Step 6, Action Plan Making. I assume those who make programs skipped Step 5, PDM making, and has proceeded directly to the Step 6, Action Plan Making. Program action plans made by those who skipped PDM making will be less detailed compared to the project action plans. An action plan requires detailed descriptions. Generally, descriptions of the program or project in an action plan are as follows. 1. Background information, such as sector, region, organization. 2. Their issues and problems. 3. Their principle and objectives. 4. The implementation plan of the organization. 5. The content and details of activities and individual responsibilities. 6. Action plan framework. 7. A summary table of the action plan. Here, I explain summary table making for an action plan. Detailed explanation about the action plan can be found in Unit 5. The summary table of an action plan is for implementation of a program or project. In making an action plan summary table for a program, feasible project candidates are to be written in the table. Here, I will explain the items of an action plan summary table in detail, focusing on one of the project candidates, the Akihabara Village case, Water Supply Improvement Project. As example of items to write in an action plan summary table, There are 8 items as follows. The first is activity and sub-activities. Then, corresponding to each sub-activity, follow target group, modality of implementation of activities, direct output, implementation schedule, executive or implementing organization, required resources, and lastly, the monitoring or evaluation method. Now, let us make an action plan summary table using the Akihabara village example. First, please utilize your knowledge to write sub-activities concretely in detail with supplemental description if necessary. Then, please write the target for each sub-activity in the target group cells and write form for implementation of each activity in the modality of implementation of activities cells. The direct output cells should have immediate outputs expected from the implementation of each activity. The implementation schedule cells should have schedules to implement sub-activities. The executive or implementing organization cells should have name of the organization which executes and/or implements the particular activities. The required resources cells should have human resources, facilities, equipment, and other funding which are necessary for implementation. Then, the methods to monitor or evaluate the activity output should be described in the cells for monitoring or evaluation method. For example, if a sub-activity is training, its monitoring or evaluation method will be a skill test and training report, and for its outcome, a monitoring report and interview report. These items are to be filled in for all the activities. When all the items are finished, the summary table is completed. After making an action plan, activities of a project or a program proceed to the implementation stage. Step 7 of the PCM method is monitoring. Monitoring means to collect data of the output indicator periodically during project progress management to analyze its result and then give feedback to project implementation. The purposes of monitoring are to manage the progress of sub-activities and to check achievement level of the outputs. The scope of monitoring should cover various items and monitoring needs to be done periodically. For this reason, a monitoring table is made to systematize monitoring procedures. A monitoring table is the list of operations for monitoring. Just following this list can make some monitoring conducted systematically. This is what the list is made for. Now, what items are necessary for a monitoring table? Let me explain using the Akihabara village case as an example. First, in the far left row comes the narrative summary, which is program objective for a program and project purpose for a project. And outputs come under it. Then, under the outputs come activities and sub-activities. In the second row from the left comes measurement for progress. Measurement for progress for project purpose and output should correspond to the measurement for progress set in the PDM. As measurement for progress for activity, each sub-activity should have an indicator to show progress of its direct outputs. The third row from the left is for data sources. This should include sources of data which indicate progress of project purpose, outputs, and sub-activities. They are the same data sources as in the PDM for project purpose and outputs. For activity, some data sources to indicate progress of sub-activities are described. They should be the same as what was written as monitoring or evaluation method on the summary table of the action plan. However, for budget, human resources, and facility and equipment, it is necessary to collect data referring to the resources required on the action plan summary table as they are relevant to all activities. The fourth row is for data collection. This should have 1. Who collects the data? 2. When and how often? And 3. How are data collected? The fifth row is for aggregation. 1. Who aggregates? 2. When and how often? 3. What method is used to aggregate? Then, the sixth row is for appraisal or decision making. 1. Who appraises and or makes decision? 2. When and how often? The seventh, the last row, is for communication of decisions. 1. When, and 2. How should be described. Following this monitoring table, progress management is done at the same time as project resource management. Data described on the monitoring table are collected periodically, their results are analyzed, and if deemed necessary, the activity plan of the project is changed. This is how a project is implemented. The last step in the PCM method is evaluation. Evaluation in the PCM method is work to evaluate the results and outcomes drawn from implementation of the project regarding 5 different criteria. Evaluation reveals various recommendations and lessons learned from the implemented project. And it is expected that feedback from such recommendations and lessons learned is utilized for the second phase of the same project or for formulation of similar projects in the future. The 5 criteria for evaluation are efficiency, effectiveness, impact, relevance, and sustainability, which are the evaluation standards set to unify the value judgment standards of evaluators. A program or project has activities, outputs, purpose, and overall goal. How efficiently was the activity reflected or led into outputs? Efficiency is evaluated from this aspect. How much useful is the output to achieve the project purpose? Effectiveness is evaluated from this aspect. How much positive and negative impact was made upon the target group by implementation of the program or project? This is evaluated as impact. What does implementation of the program or project mean to the needs of the community and the development plans of the government. This is evaluated as relevance. And is the implementing organization of the project continuing any similar activities even after completion of the project? If so, how much have they achieved the objectives and what impact and relevance were given? This is evaluated as sustainability. Collect data for these 5 criteria, analyze them, summarize the result of analysis in a report, and feed them back as recommendation and lessons learned. That's all for Step 8 of the PCM method, evaluation. We have just been through with explanation of Step 5 to 8 of the PCM method. Now, let us review this unit. A program is a group of 2 or more projects in the PCM method. Among 8 steps of the PCM method, Step 5 is Project Design Matrix PDM making. Step 6 is Action Plan making. Step 7 is Monitoring. And Step 8 is Evaluation. Step 5, PDM, is a table showing a summary of the project contents, which consists of 16 cells. The table has 4 rows, which are from left to right: 1. Narrative summary, 2. Measurement of progress, 3. Data source, and 4. Assumptions. Step 6. Action Plan is a detailed plan of activities to implement the project, with activity content, schedule, and targets described. Step 7 is Monitoring. Monitoring is work to collect information in a continuous and periodic manner to grasp the progress of the project, analyze the results, and reflect it on course adjustments for the project. The last step of the PCM method is evaluation. It is work to evaluate the result and outcomes obtained through implementation of the project using 5 criteria for evaluation. That's all for the review of this unit. This Unit 3 video explains Step 5 to 8 among the 8 steps of the PCM method. The next unit, Unit 4, introduces an actual case where participants of PCM training went through the process from action plan making to presentation. Those who would like to know more about PDM and action plans, please watch Unit 5. Those who would like to know more about monitoring and evaluation, please watch Unit 6. See you again. Bye.